I'm going to preview the Baylor at Kansas State women's basketball game, which will be played literally 6 p.m. Central Time on ESPN2 slash ESPN Plus as of today. And I'm pre-recording this ahead of time just to get it out of the way. As soon as the rankings come out, I'll just adjust the rankings for both of these teams. And I will say this to first thing first. Kansas State does have Aoka Lee back for the first time since January 19th. However, she only played 5 minutes against Kansas. So it's been a hot minute since Aoka Lee really played, and she was coming off of a foot fracture. And they did defeat Kansas 90-60, so I apologize for looking down because I can't memorize all this stuff. Yeah, literally, February 22nd, that's the first game back since January 19th. Oof, that's a long time. And Kansas State is 25-4 overall, 13-3 in the Big 12. And they've won every home game this year. While Baylor is 24-5 overall, 14-2 in the Big 12. And they are currently tied for first place in the Big 12 with TCU. And this is after TCU destroyed West Virginia by 21 points. And I made sure to mention all that conference standing stuff, especially the TCU game played at 11 a.m. the day before. I might as well wait till that game's done and the result of it. And I will say all those 3 conference losses for Kansas State were without Aoka Lee. I mean, the West Virginia game on February 17th was without her. That's obvious, and then same thing goes for Oklahoma State at Oklahoma State. Yet, they defeated TCU without Aoka Lee, which is crazy. In Kansas State's first game without Aoka Lee, they did lose to Colorado at Colorado when they were healthy. Now, obviously, Baylor's only 2 conference losses were to TCU by 5 points in Oklahoma State. Yeah, that TCU game was 80-75. TCU got up so big and Baylor tried to climb back and they couldn't overcome. While the other conference loss was on January 1st against Oklahoma State by 23 points at home. So despite that first conference loss at home, and obviously the TCU one, they're still in the driver's seat, so to speak. So this is huge in terms of conference standings and NCAA tournament seeding. And this is ranked versus ranked matchup. We do not know the rankings for both of these teams going into this game. I think Kansas State's going to drop some, and while Baylor should move up because they went 2-0. And they're coming off of a recent win against Iowa State at home by 15 points, 67-52. And I know that's not the same Iowa State team as last year. I get it. But they were a desperate team. They were on the bubble. And I call desperate teams dangerous teams. And they have a really good top 3, and Baylor slowed them down enough in that game, as you could tell by the stats. But anyway, enough of all that discussion about these last game for both of these teams and what the losses are. What are some players to keep an eye on? And I would have to assume Aoka Lee is going to play more minutes than just 5. I would think so. So obviously number 50, number 6'6" center, that's a senior, 15.5 points per game, 65.6% on free throws on 64 attempts, 6.1 rebounds per game, 0.9 turnovers per game, 0.7 steals per game, 2.2 blocks per game, 1.9 fouls per game. And there's obviously Serena Sundell, number 4, 6'2" guard. That's a senior, 13.3 points per game, 30.5% on threes on 59 attempts, 78.6% on free throws on 106 attempts, 4.6 rebounds per game, 7.3 assists per game, 2.9 turnovers per game, 1 steal per game, 0.9 blocks per game, 1.2 fouls per game. And this is the only meeting between Baylor and Kansas State this year. And it's Tamira Poindexter, number 2, 6'2" forward. That's a senior, 12.7 points per game, 41.6% on threes on 173 attempts, 75.8% on free throws on 33 attempts, 2.9 rebounds per game, 1.6 turnovers per game, 1.3 steals per game, 0.9 blocks per game, 1.1 fouls per game. And there's Terrence Sides, their sixth player, as in like the first one off the bench. Number 11, 5'7" guard. That's a sophomore, 10 points per game. 46.3% on threes on 60 attempts. 84.6% on free throws on 13 attempts. 4.1 rebounds per game. 3.1 assists per game. 1.9 turns per game. 1 steal per game. 1.6 fouls per game. And there's Jalen Glenn, number 3, 6'1" guard. That's a senior. 9.9 points per game. 44.4% on threes on 135 attempts. 83.3% on free throws on 12 attempts, 4.2 rebounds per game, 3 assists per game, 1 turnover per game, 1.6 steals per game, 1.6 fouls per game. And there's Zion Walker, number 1, 5'11" guard, that's a sophomore, 8.7 points per game, 28.2% on threes on 71 attempts, 70.4% on free throws on 71 attempts, 4 rebounds per game, 3.8 assists per game, 1.8 turns per game, 1.9 steals per game, 0.6 blocks per game, 1.6 fouls per game. And I will put the outlook on Kansas State women's basketball in the description below. And it's Kennedy Taylor, number 12, 6'2" forward. That's a senior, 6.4 points per game. 78.6% on free throws on 56 attempts, 4.7 rebounds per game, 0.6 steals per game, 1.8 fouls per game. And is Gisela Sanchez, number 30, 6'4" forward. That's a junior, 4.9 points per game, 27.9% on threes on 43 attempts. 57.1% on free throws on 14 attempts, 3 rebounds per game, 1 turnover per game, 1 foul per game. And there's Eliza Maupin, number 21, 6'3" forward as a junior, 4 points per game, 0 for 1 on threes, 61.9% on free throws on 21 attempts, 2.7 rebounds per game, 0.6 turns per game, 1.2 fouls per game. And the last player that really they play, and I know I'm mentioning all the players that have played this year, is Imani Lester, number 32, 6'4" forward. It's a sophomore, 2.3 points per game. Made half her free throws on 24 attempts, as in like 12 for 24, 3 rebounds per game, 0.6 turns per game, 0.6 steals per game, 1.5 fouls per game. So, and another thing I'm going to mention is Dariana Lopez Buggs for Baylor's day-to-day with the knee injury. They're hoping that it's not a season-ending thing. She's just day-to-day with it. Don't be shocked if she does play. Don't be shocked if she doesn't. So, one thing I'm going to say is Baylor knows how to win on the road. Look at their road record. And last year, they even went into Virginia Tech. And I get that was without their best big, Elizabeth Kitley. But Virginia Tech did not lose a single home game last year until Baylor played them in the round of 32. I'm just saying, they're not scared of going on the road and winning. And I know this team did go on the road to TCU and lose. I know. But I do think that does help them in terms of like how to deal with a big girl with Ayoka Lee. I don't care if she's barely healthy or 100% either. It does help. And I do think last game against Iowa State does help prepare for this game. They're similar in a way, just a better version. Let's just be honest. They got the better team right now. Iowa State doesn't. And one thing across the board, I don't care about the officiating. You got to make plays to win. You got to hustle them. And you got to do it for the seniors. And I know what Kansas State's going to try to do too, especially with so many seniors that I mentioned that are playing. They want to find a way to get themselves back to a 3-way tie. So they're going to be very motivated going into this game, to say the least. While I think Baylor should be motivated too, because of last year, without Ayoka Lee, Kansas State beat Baylor in a close game in Waco. So there's revenge on their mind, I would dare to say. Obviously, you need to do a better job, like from whatever you did wrong last game, you got to correct for this game. And whatever you did right last game, you got to bring it to this game. That's simple, I know, but it's just telling the truth. You got to get them in foul trouble, and while limiting yours. You can't be intimidated by the players or the fans in the stands. And I really do think this does have impact, not just for the rankings perspective or conference standings perspective, but top 16 perspective. because I do think Baylor is good enough to be a host. With obviously a win like this, and next game coming up against TCU at home, win one of those two games, I think they're going to host. Obviously, win both, they're going to host. Well, Kansas State, obviously, this is the tougher of the two games they have remaining. They do have to play Iowa State, though. So, good luck with them. I'm just saying that right now because Ames is a difficult place to play and Iowa State's on the bubble. So, back to this game here. Now, defensively, you got to make them shoot, chase those shooters off the 3-point line. Make them shoot 2 by 2 by 2. Kind of like what you did against Iowa State in a way. Similar, you know. You got to create some havoc. Got to create turnovers and blocks. You got to make it hard for Aoka Lee. I don't care if she's not played for her second game in 3 days, especially when she's been out since January 19th. I don't care. You got to make it difficult for her. Make her life miserable. And you got to limit, obviously, the 3-point shooters. You don't want them to get so many easy drives to the basket either. But at the same time, would you rather give up a drive to the rim or a wide open 3-point shot when you're up like 3 or 4? I know what I would do. Give up the layup more. I would. And you got to get some defensive rebounds in this game. And rebounding is going to be critical, I would think. And another thing across the board, you got to make adjustments on the fly. Not just from half to half, but quarter to quarter, timeout, possession by possession. I mean, it's just telling the truth. Now, back to the defensive side of things. You want to limit the fast break points, the points in the paint. Don't let them live at the free throw line as much as possible. Just don't allow that to happen. And obviously, on offense, you got to get some points off turnovers as much as possible and get some fast break points, get some points in the paint, whether it's like a paint touch or like a straight up post up or a drive to the basket. And make Aoka Lee move. I would actually dare her to move. She's not played in a long time for a reason. She's coming off a foot fracture. Make her move. And I do think Arinette Volley needs to step up a little bit in this game. And I know it's going to be tough against somebody taller, but I think she's going to learn from whatever she did last time against a big like this in Sedona Prince. I really do. And same thing goes for Lauren Betts from UCLA. So it obviously does help. And you got to make some threes in this game. And obviously you got to take good shot selection, take care of the ball, get some points on turnovers, fast break points, points in the paint. I mean, you got to get some offensive rebounds and get some second chance points as well and make your free throws count. I mean, that's just telling the truth right there. And obviously, you got to do good in late game situations, both offensively and defensively in this type of a game. And right here, and another thing across the board I'm going to make mention. Do not put yourself in a big hole like you did against TCU or UCLA. I mean, you just can't. And I know you almost took down TCU at TCU, and when you look at the losses, they allowed big runs to happen, some lulls offensively and defensively. That's what happened. And I know that first loss, I would call it a fluke more than anything else because, one, it's your first game without Janet Van Guy beat for the rest of the year due to torn ACL, and two, Belfort got hurt and didn't have an X-ray machine at Oregon. So, but they still got down big, but they climbed back and only lose by 2. So you do not want to put yourself in that position to begin with. Don't. You got to play solid defense. And you, honestly, like I said, you got to adjust to the officiating. You have to do a better job with the fouling, and you got to take care of the ball. And hopefully you make more free throws than last game. I mean, 63.2% on free throws on 19 attempts. You got to do better than that. But you did pretty good offensively after that, and you were solid defensively. And Iowa State only made like 3 out of 14. I have to say, I don't think that's going to happen necessarily in this game, but obviously, if that would happen, that would be a good thing for Baylor and obviously from the field as well. You got to make it difficult as possible. And we do need to take care of the ball better. I mean, 17 turnovers is still too much, and 22 fouls is a lot. I think we got away with the foul trouble in that game against Iowa State, but this game right here, you can't necessarily. And if there's no Darian, if Darian Lopez-Buggs steps up, that'd be huge. But I would like if she does play, she needs to contribute. Without her, I do think Belle Fonway will step up. She's played really good whenever Buggs has been out, either due to injury or suspension. Look at the numbers. Even that Cincinnati game, I know that was with Buggs in it, but look what she did. A career high in points. So obviously she needs to have a good game, and hopefully Erin Volney does a better job against a bigger player in the post. And Yaya Felder definitely needs to step up. Jada Walker, hopefully she shoots a little bit better from the field, but made 2 out of 4 on threes and made all 4 on free throws. And Sarah Andrews making all 4 free throws last game has got to be encouraging, given her numbers statistically this year from the free throw line. And hopefully she shoots the ball better from the field a little bit better. And obviously she needs to make some threes. Aaliyah Matari definitely needs to step up, especially if there's no Darian Lopez-Buggs. So she's probably going to be the first player off the bench going to the game. And hopefully she has more than 1 point and not make a single shot from the field. And I do think she's due for a bigger game. I think so. And Wyatt Jennings, aka Wyatt Jennings, needs to step up and do her role as well. She's probably gonna play if Buggs is not gonna play. And Kyle Abraham needs to do her role offense, whether it's rebounding, and she does need to do better job of either go straight up or kick it out quicker on those offensive boards. And she needs to step up defensively, and she did last game. I mean, 3 blocks. I mean, just telling the truth. And obviously, Kayla Nelms does play. She needs to just do her role. And she could be like that stretch 5 that the team needs. So, I pretty much went over all the keys for this game here. And I do think this game will be close. I really do. And I would be stunned if it was a blowout by either direction. And obviously, a win here for Baylor. You knock out Kansas State out of the Big 12 title race and give them their first home loss. And look, and I know one thing, Kansas State's going to be playing more of the underdog role a little bit, I would dare to say, because of conference standings, but at the same time, they may be favored in the game. I don't know. We don't know the spread of the game right now, but when you look at the matchup predictor, they favor Kansas State, but I would dare. But Baylor's won like 8 straight games here ever since that that TCU loss, and even the game before against UCLA, they won 8 straight games, which is the longest in the Big 12. So they're playing really well right now. So we're just gonna have to give your best shot. Obviously, win this game, you would knock out Kansas State, and then you give yourselves a chance to play for a winner or take all Big 12 Conference Championship. Because I do think TCU is going to be Houston coming up for their next game before they play Baylor and Waco. I really do. So you can't. And it's obviously, if there's a 3-way tie, Baylor and Kansas State are tied. Kansas State gets that edge right there. And we just have to wait and see what happens in this type of game. And like I said, they're going to play desperate, because I do think if Kansas State does lose, they might not be a top 16 seed. They might not be. For all we know, they might not be. And obviously, if Baylor wins this game, I think they have a chance to be a top 16 seed. A better chance. And obviously, winning out does. Or even just beating TCU or both. I think it does. So we're going to have to wait and see what happens. So anyways, if you like this content, hit the like and subscribe. And I'll see you guys later on the road to 800 subscribers. Of course, ultimate goal is 1,000 more. So money at this. Of course, like video, comment video really helps YouTube algorithm. So more people could see it. Sharing the video does help as well, so more people could watch. And if you're watching and not subscribed, hit subscribe button, ring the notification bell as well.